Ohio. The Midwest is going down. So, well, we always go to the South, actually. So, because you're in the South, little Johnny Reb there, Andrew. So,
Yeah.
I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. This is the legacy, right? I am El Capitan, Captain Picard on this podcast. This is my number one. You
Lysander
missed it.
Spooner?
Yeah, Lysander Spooner is my number one. Lysander Spooner is my number one, so that makes you my number two. Sorry, Andrew.
That's okay.
So, so, but again, we are back here on the Legacy, right, with another special edition with another special guest. As always, we like to crank it up, so and get everybody's perspective as best we can. And I think we're going to dedicate this one. You said his name there, Andrew.
The man who shall not be mentioned, Lysander
Yeah,
Spooner.
the man who will not be mentioned. So, Voldemort. Whoops. So, but anything to plug, Andrew, before we bring our guest on?
Well, no, I'm ready to go.
No, all right. So, well, the Telegram, but we'll get that at the end. So, let's bring her on. So we have Doni the Don, or Doni the Misfit, as she goes by now on X, all over the Liberty sphere. I believe she has her website Liberty or Else, and I'm gonna let her go ahead and introduce herself, and because I'm not the greatest to introduce anybody. So, Donnie, welcome to the Legacy, right? The show of misfits and weirdos and crony capitalists, as Andrew would be. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I guess a little bit by myself. I'm just a natural human rights activist, and I go around talking to capitals. I behind the scenes help people who've had their property seized by the government.
Mm,
And I also go and speak a lot to people. To me, property rights are very important because if you don't own your fruit of your labors, then what are you? A slave. So I'm just a regular person out there just trying to take on the state because, they've gotten way too huge and they are stealing from people, kidnapping people. And as y'all can see, they kill people. And we need some
hmm
people to start standing up and educate people to start doing that. And that's what I do. And like I said, my website is libertyorelse.com.
Thank you for that introduction. So, and make sure if you haven't followed her already, go ahead and give her a follow on X. All that will be in the description as well, and we'll get to it at the end as well. Let you plug away. But speaking of private property rights, what is it? What is it? Where it seems like we're in a crossroads. We'll transition to that for the start of it. We're in a crossroads where it doesn't seem like property really matters anymore, whether it's on a public perception on a national level. I mean, uh, because what are borders? And then on a personal level, because it seems like that on the left want to completely erode it, left, right, same difference really, but they completely want to erode anybody's ability to have their personal and private property and maintain their own source. So where did we get to this in this day and age, and why are we at this level now of political nonsense?
I think honestly, I think people don't think about it happening to them. So out of sight, out of mind. So minority group people, they'll target certain minority groups like the game fowl community, for example. And
Hmm.
they'll take their chickens and then make accusations against the game fowl community. You'll see pictures of them, their chickens, their guns, and money. And no one bats an eye because they say, oh, they do horrible things with their chickens. So it's okay for us to steal their guns, steal their money, and steal their property. I think the thing is people have gotten to the point where the media, they say they don't trust the media, but yet they will trust whatever someone they put a picture out and whatever the police tells the media why they kidnapped someone. I think that's a big problem. We don't care enough about each other and what happens to each other in our property that we've gotten here. And then we don't advocate for each other. Well, you deserved it, right? You broke the law,
Hmm.
right? You're supposed to comply, and people don't. So therefore, they're not okay with it. You have an issue too where cops can just come in, even though they're supposed to have a warrant and an affidavit in order to come and seize property, and the affidavit has to have a good reason. Now they're just coming and taking your property, going in your vehicle, on your person, in your house, and taking wherever they want to, and trying to build a case against you. Have y'all seen some of these lawsuits where it's the state versus firearms or the state versus someone's property, not the actual human themselves? So we've got to this point where the government has decided that they can do whatever they want to, and people don't want to go through court. So a lot of times people just take plea deals and they let their properties go away. And people don't fight for what's theirs. You know, they don't trust the jury process, right? They don't trust, they have given up their Sixth Amendment, you know, to have a fair trial. But no, it's where we are. Honestly, I think it's a lack of education, lack of caring about other human beings. And the government is really banking on that and loving it. And they have people who are advocating to take away people's guns. People are advocating to take away people's property away from them. So that's where I see the big problem at. They need to read some Lysander Spooner.
They really should, honestly. I mean, speaking of taking guns, I mean, and taking someone's freedom away is Dexter Taylor. I mean, I know that you've been big
Yeah.
on that case and promoting that. It's unreal that the government, especially in states like New York, it's just gotten a little too crazy with the totalitarianism. I mean, what is explain a little bit to our audience. I'm sure our audience knows a little bit about it, but what that case is all about and why Dexter matters more than Donald Trump, honestly, with his 34 felonies.
Right. So Dexter's is a nerd, right? Like us. He's really big on computers, engineering, and everything. So he started having a hobby with guns. And so he just started buying parts and started building his own guns himself, legally purchased the parts, everything. And so now, you know, the ATF and going after these different shops, they look at who their customers are and where they're sending the products to. And I guess that's how Dexter ended up on the radar. Long story short, him and his attorney were trying to use the Bruins Act and the Second Amendment to fight their case, and the judge would not allow it. She goes, the Second Amendment is not allowed in this court. So as we can see now, Dexter is locked up. He was convicted and he's still fighting. He's going to appeal his case, but you guys really look into it. Jeff Charles, Red State, has this articles, multiple articles, letting you know what's going on. If you're following myself or Jeff Charles, we'll keep you up to date with Dexter. It's been really hard to get in hold of him lately because when we call or he calls us, it's doing some it's asking us to pay, and we have put our card number in, and it just hangs up the phone. So I don't know what's going on with the prison he's at now, but he's been really hard to get a hold of him. We have been in discussion with his mom and his family, and they're keeping us up to date with him. You know, keeping he's still in good spirits, you guys, and he's still fighting the good fight. It's not just about what's happening to Dexter Taylor, because this is about everybody. Because this is not okay where the Supreme Court makes a ruling and the state decides, you know what, screw that ruling, screw your rights, and we're going to deprive this man of his rights. By the way, which is a crime. The real criminals is the judge, the prosecutors, the ATF, everyone who had deprived Dexter Taylor of his rights.
All for executing his own personal rights to just be a nerd. I mean, really. He wasn't even doing anything.
Right, just exercising his rights as a free human being. That's what this country's supposed to be about. You want us to be praising these people from the military, who's in the military, but they're over here telling us, "Oh, you need to give up your guns. You don't need your rights." Then what are these people going overseas for, right? Because it's clearly not about protecting or defending our rights in this country or preserving it or protecting us from other countries. Clearly, that's not the case. So where do we come from here, you guys? Where do we go from here? Where Dexter is an innocent man. He's locked up. These things have been going on for a long time. A plant, marijuana, a plant that grows naturally. You people have been locked up and lost their lives, and families have lost their fathers or mothers, and their families been torn apart over a plant that naturally grows from this earth. Even though we have a right to acquire, own, use, possess, or dispose of our property as we see fit, but this country says we are slaves. So therefore, if we do not obey them, they must destroy us.
I hate to say this, but the 14th Amendment really butchered a lot. I mean, all the corporate lawyers and what's on paper is a great amendment, a great idea, but the lawyers get a hold of it, the case law that set precedents, and like human beings are not people. I mean, we are just a nation It's just like the movie The Network. I mean, we really are just a nation of a college of corporations. I mean, and they just don't care. I mean, they don't care.
No, they don't. But that's who runs for office. That's a lot of people are your state legislators. They're in Congress. They're
Mm-hmm.
your judges. Your prosecuting attorneys. But I got a lot to say about that in the Sixth Amendment because it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting how the Sixth Amendment says you have a right to counsel. It doesn't say you have a right
Mm-hmm.
to an attorney or lawyer, and they existed back then, correct? So they would have used that
Mm-hmm.
same language if that's what they meant. But now they've made it
Mm-hmm.
to where they have basically only made it one particular class of people who are supposed to protect and defend your rights in court, but instead they are trying to get you to do plea deals so they don't have to do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
cutting deals with the judges and stuff because they want that judge seat one day. They want that prosecutor seat one day.
That's what it is. That's what do you always say on this show, Andrew? It's just all about job security, and it
Yeah,
really is.
it's basically, legal incest.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. So,
Did you say? Did you say?
improperly,
Did you say legal incest?
yeah, like the
mm-hmm.
you know, once it doesn't scale right, they'll just sit there and pat each other back. Oh, we'll get it taken care of, and they never do. And uh, it's just everything degrades. You don't have to compete.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that goes to like Lysander Spooner. I mean, and what he professed all his life. Actually, I got a quote here. I'd like to read it and get both of y'all's take on it. But a traitor is a betrayer, one who practices injury while professing friendship. Benedict Arnold was a traitor solely because, while professing friendship for the American cause, he attempted to injure it. An open enemy, however criminal in other respects, is no traitor. And that kind of sounds like the police in today's day and age. They're just doing their job, or the prosecutors just doing their job. So what is your take on that quote there, Donnie?
You know what? Honestly, I think we can expand that too to the Republican Party,
Mm-hmm.
for example. They claim that they're for small government, limited government, they're for the people.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're in office and you actually look at their policies, they're the exact opposite of what they're telling people they are. Malcolm X even
Mm-hmm.
brought up that too. People pretending they're your
Oh
friends in
yeah.
your face, but then that they're actively working against you. Even look at the Libertarian Party, right? Take a
Mm-hmm.
look at people who say they're for liberty and freedom, and they're actively working against the whole goal for liberty and freedom. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of different kind of traders. They wear different uniforms, but definitely for sure the police they're supposed to be peace officers, correct? Supposed to be protecting and
Mm-hmm.
serving. Honestly, the people would have a better relationship with the police if they focus on actually going after criminals, as if they look just like Law and Order or Criminal Minds, like they're trying to portray it to
Mm-hmm.
be. If it was actually them looking and trying to save the kids who've been kidnapped, or save kids who've been or getting serial killers off the streets, if that's what they really were doing, then they could be the heroes that that they are. But instead, they're sitting on the side of the road trying to extort you and saying you're going too
Mm-hmm.
fast or tail lights out or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or making excuses to go through your car when you clearly have done nothing wrong. You just got pulled over because your taillights out, but then like, hey, can I go through your car? Do you have any weapons in your car? Why are you asking me these questions, sir? Do you have a warrant and affidavit? No, I'm quite sure you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't be asking me these questions. And that warrant, by the way, needs to specify what you can and can't take out of my vehicle
Mm-hmm.
or what personal things you can have. You can just bring some blanket warrant, but they get away with it because people don't fight it back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you always have to specify. I come from a family of all attorneys. My dad was a prosecutor as well, so he was on both ends. So yeah, you always have to specify what's in that warrant. Otherwise, it could potentially get thrown out. I mean, just you don't take something that isn't specified. That you if you can't get it, if it's there and you're not supposed to see it, or you're not looking for it, then why does it matter, in my opinion?
Exactly. The other thing too is blanket warrants are illegal. If they're saying, oh, you can search every part of the house, every room, all the entire property, that's actually illegal too. And
Mm-hmm.
that was Stanford versus Texas and blanket search warrants. Supreme Court
Mm-hmm.
decision that says blanket warrants are illegal as well.
And yet they somehow they find different ways to to get past all these. There's always a loophole somewhere or a payoff, or they just don't care. I don't know. And so,
And that's
how about
crazy. And
you?
when you have these attorneys who are supposed to be pointing these things out to, get your case thrown out completely, honestly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they're like, "Oh no, you're gonna have to take a deal," or it's just insane to me. Like, look at our country. We have the highest incarcerated rate in the entire world, more than China, more than Russia, and yet we have all these attorneys here. So apparently, the attorneys and lawyers aren't doing a very good job. All these people incarcerated, or the guilties that are put on the books. There's a lot of people who are not guilty. And
Mm-hmm.
also, like Senator Spooner says, vices aren't crimes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between a vice and a crime. There needs to be a victim. You have to harm somebody or their property in order for it to be a crime. You harming your own self and your property, that's not a crime. That's a vice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no
Yeah.
one else's business.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's nobody's business. So, man, who cares if somebody walks up and smells an odor of marijuana? As long if it's out in public, I can raise an eyebrow. But if they're not doing any harm, who cares? If they're on their property, you walk by their house and it's reeks of weed, then well, there's nothing you can do about it. Definitely there. So let bygones be bygones, right there, in my opinion, and I think in all of our opinions right here. So we we shouldn't be putting anybody away for no reason. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I mean, there's a reason why. What are your feelings on the Innocence Project? Um, that has started up over the years, because I know that they do a heck of a job, uh, and a lot of people have gotten exonerated because of it.
I've seen it, but I haven't really dug into it too much. I
Hmm.
was getting email notifications from them, but I haven't really been checking that email as much anymore since I've been more actively helping people with their cases. And I have a separate email where people send me their paperwork and stuff when they're being
Hmm.
targeted by the government. So
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion because I haven't paid close enough attention. But when I
Hmm.
was paying a little bit of attention, it wasn't enough to have like an opinion on it. But
Hmm.
they're trying to free people who they're basically like abolitionists, if that's what they're doing. And we do need
Hmm.
modern day abolitionists, and we need to get behind people who have that going on, because who's trying to free the people? People aren't looking at these people as if they've been put into slavery. When I've been in Kentucky and Louisiana, I've seen inmates working on the side of the road. That's
Hmm.
slavery. If they're
Yeah.
so terrible and need to be taken away from society, then what are they doing back in society doing labor? So
Hmm.
if they're fighting to get these people free, they need as much support as they possibly can, because we need someone trying to free people who've been kidnapped by the government, who are um, prisoners of the state.
Hmm. I mean, it's that 13th Amendment. It's pretty specific when it says, I mean, slavery is illegal except for prisoners. I'm paraphrasing, obviously,
Right.
but
And they did it on purpose. So
yeah.
technically, like Lysander Spooner said, slavery wasn't even legal until they brought the
Hmm.
13th Amendment here. It was never legal in
Hmm.
the first place. But when
Yeah.
they created the 13th Amendment, that's when they made it legal.
Hmm. Then you start juggling around the two-party system, and everybody's the narrative for the Republicans to get at the Democrats is that's the party of the KKK. These are the avid racists, but it was the Republican Party that won the Civil War, the real Civil War, not just a war, took power, consolidated it, and then used all these new
Centralized.
amendments to centralize and make us all slaves. So, and
Yeah, that's what they did. And Lysander Spooner had a lot of words for the Republicans and them
mm,
trying to take credit for things that but Lysander Spooner even said we didn't even need a war. He had a plan. He told the white Southerners what to do who didn't own slaves. That's all that needed to be
hmm.
done. But Lincoln, also Lincoln's ties to Russia, and they helped him
Hmm.
during that
Hmm.
war. So sometimes I have a hard time really calling it a civil war when I'm seeing other countries were involved or had
Hmm.
interests, and because Great Britain and France were going to help the South, and I guess
Mm.
Russia was supposed to say don't do that, or we'll get involved, because
Yeah.
Russia saw a reason, a good benefit for them for us to have the union still. And so why
Hmm.
would Russia care, right? So it's kind of in the sense I think about Ukraine in a bit, in a sense with America when they're looking at which countries want to help which side in our country, which kind of makes me a little. It kind of black pills me just a little bit. Because you think
Hmm.
about it, when if Americans really want freedom and they take their country back, other countries are going to come over here and fight us. I mean, they did it during the Civil War,
Hmm.
Revolutionary War. So it kind of makes me like we have to really plan ahead on these things because the government's not going to release its power um, peacefully.
Mm-mm. No. Andrew, you got
As you can see,
something? Oh yeah.
Well, I just think, this is all good and well on paper, right? Trying to have a legal system where we respect each other's property, but time and time again, especially in modern times, it's just you go when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans, right? You see over in Europe, there's no-go zones, and in the United States, there's no-go zones for like Muslims and stuff like that. Police come from China and have their own police departments over here. I thought this is supposed to be America, quote unquote.
Hmm.
How is this America if there's no real scaling, no real responsibility, no real obligation. There's just, oh, somebody else will deal with it. Somebody else will pay the crime, for violate your rights. There's no real legal structure here. There's just grifting at all times.
Hmm.
yeah,
And yeah, and the biggest grifter of them all, honestly, would have been someone like Abraham Lincoln. He latched on. He was a bit protege of Henry Clay, so he was all about the power and the true centralization. I mean, I guess one way you could look at it, he either defied the Constitution or he understood it to where it was and used it to its true full capability, as Lysander Spooner argued over that. And
He
hmm,
called it bluff.
yeah. So and the idea that to say that he was the great emancipator, I mean, he was more like the great colonizer because he advocated and even deported uh freed blacks and newly freed blacks I think there was a story where he had a freedmen delegation in the White House and they were discussing plans of what to do with the slave question after the war, after defeating the South, and then at the end of it, he had them all deported to Liberia. It's like, does that sound like the great emancipator? That sounds like he was
he's
not what he
not. But it's
was.
interesting. He gave reparations to the slave owners. And then
Hmm.
he said he would pay for the blacks to go to be sent back to Africa, where they
Hmm.
don't where their family's been here for generations, right, for a long
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
they don't probably know the language. Just going to send them back to a continent. Like he said he didn't
Hmm.
want to have equal rights
Mm-mm.
with black people. He wanted them to go away. They wanted to have America for themselves.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like his plan, which was kind of finagled a little bit during Reconstruction, because you had Andrew Johnson and you had the radical sociopaths in Congress, but just the the utilization of martial law in the South to enforce these new amendments that effectively uh, disenfranchise poor whites, not just blacks, but poor whites as well. Like everybody in the South was pretty much trampled on. And it seems like we don't, I don't know what happened with education, but they just don't want to, they want to keep that concealed. Everybody was equal and I guess filth, I guess, at least in the eyes of the government.
They see it's just content, they don't see the context of our lives.
Yeah. So, I got another quote I'd like this one comes from Max Stirner, and it pertains to property, but property exists by grace of law, it is not a fact, but a legal fiction. And I wanted to get what's your interpretation of that to you, me and Stoney.
You read it to me one more time?
Property exists by grace of the law. It is not a fact, but a legal fiction. Very egoist.
I don't know. Is he saying that like property isn't a thing? Like no one should have property? Or is he
Well,
saying the opposite?
I think from my perspective, what he's saying is property to an egoist does not exist under the realm of like institutions. So anything that the government says, anything that any institution, government, etc., states as property cannot necessarily be property because one party has to enforce it. It has to be enforced through violence. And if that's the matter, well, then we might as well just live in a case of anarchy and just defend our own property in our own
Chaos.
ways. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, you think about it too. We're on the census, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you keep a number, you keep count of how many people and how many people live in your house. Like the government looking at us as property. So if we have own property, correct, then to
Mm-hmm.
them it's their property.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in a sense it would be superficial to believe that we have property and under this kind of government or institution, um, if a government can just regulate it away from you or
Mm-hmm.
regulate how you can use it, or if you cannot use it, if you honestly, I don't believe we really have property rights. We're not well, we have property rights, they're just not being protected by the
Mm-hmm.
government. And the reason why they're supposed to exist is to protect those rights. So as it stands, it doesn't really seem like if you think about this too, who's running for office, right? Running for president, running for your local seats, mayor. How many of them are talking about protecting your property rights? Well, they don't see that as yours because they look at it as it's theirs. Think about the
Mm-hmm.
vehicles when they want to tow your vehicle when you're parked somewhere too long and you're going downtown or something. And then you have to pay all this money to get your vehicle back or pay a fee to park somewhere. The
Mm-hmm.
government says, well, we can tell you if you park here without giving us money, we can take your vehicle from you. So in a sense, I mean, I think there's a point there, an ugly truth, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Very black pilled in an essence, but at the same time, there's kind of a inkling of a white pill in there. So, I mean, so yeah, no different from like not even just parking, but like if you don't get tags on your car or renew your registration, I mean, technically they could just come and repossess it, and you may not have any loans on your vehicle. So, uh, or I mean, property
I'm
taxes.
really bad about that. Whenever I got a new car, that's when I would have my tags up to date. But once it expired, I never updated them.
I remember
I
seeing
was always riding dirty.
I remember seeing a meme one time of it was this lady had been like painting over her sticker for like 20 years and it finally caught her. I thought that was pretty funny.
See the
But to
little
be fair,
things. It's
guys, Susan B. Anthony, she got a ticket, right? She was fined for voting, right? When she wasn't supposed to be voting, and she never paid that. So if she's a
mm-hmm.
hero for that, I am too. Okay.
That's one of the little things that I will say. I got pulled over last year for not, and mine wasn't registered. And the cop was really nice. He's like, you were following a little too closely. I'm just gonna give you a warning, but on that. But I noticed your license isn't your license isn't renewed. You don't have this year's sticker. I'm like, oh shoot. And I realized I actually hadn't done anything about it. Like I totally ignored it. And then I just looked at it. I was like, yeah, I should actually keep the receipt in the car. But yeah, the receipt's at home. I just renewed it like yesterday. But I went ahead and renewed it like a couple days later just because I might as well at that point. I was caught.
You're better than me.
So,
Yeah.
oh man. But at this rate, it's like I think on that car, I think at that rate, it's only like $30, so it's not as bad as it has
It's still
been.
theft.
Yeah, it
It's
still
still
is
theft.
theft.
Absolutely not. I already paid taxes for this vehicle. I already paid for this vehicle. Why am I still paying someone
Yeah.
for permission to drive it?
Exactly. I don't know. I just got a new car, so I I don't know if I'll renew. That's gonna be pretty hot.
Oh, let me
So,
know. You know what I'm saying? As we can start a
mhm.
trend.
Hashtag no registration.
Yes. Hashtag don't pay it.
Don't.
Right?
Hashtag no reservations.
Mm-hmm.
Get some Anthony Bourdain on that. No reservations, no registrations, no paying. So
Oh, you gotta get that on a t-shirt.
let's do it.
I registered my
We're
cars in Mexico.
Oh, really?
No, it's cheaper that way.
Oh,
They don't never check.
gotcha.
Yeah.
sounded like John McAfee there, Andrew.
Right.
So, but no, that is interesting and another takeaway and transitioning to the next one. Theft. Why, I mean, why is it in our psyche to continue to pay? I mean, I think I just kind of like slipped it out, like, well, it's cheaper now, but I'll go ahead, get it done. Is that the hold that they have on us really? Is like it's a little bit of that psychological warfare on us, and make us think that we're obligated to pay it because if we don't, we're gonna lose this or lose that, or what? Why do you think it is that people are willing to just subject themselves to taxation or registration fees or anything like that?
Well, part of it I would say is, indoctrination. Like, we were born into this, so this is normal, right? So my
Hmm.
parents did it, my grandparents did it, so yeah, this is a normal thing to do. If you don't do it, then you're kind of like an outsider. You're messing up in society. You're kind of a misfit. Like you don't pay your taxes or
Hmm.
blah blah blah. You don't do your part. There's that part of it. Number two is fear. So what if I don't do it? What will happen if I don't? There's not
Hmm.
there's not a single law that's unjust to the cops will not kill you over.
Hmm.
So that's why people do it out of fear. I think the main thing is fear, and because that's what they've seen other people do, that's what's supposed to be normal. That's what a good citizen in society is supposed to do, correct? Instead
Hmm.
of actually looking back and thinking, wait a minute, I think there might be something wrong with this. Why are we do this? Like, I made a tweet the other day. I said the people that say they're most awake snore the loudest. So a lot of people's like, oh, I'm still awake, and I see everything for what it is now, but they only see like part of it and they refuse to see the other half of it or the rest
Hmm.
of it. And so I'm not saying I'm 100% awake on every single thing, right? I'm not perfect
Hmm.
human being, but I do think the concept is very simple. It's my property, it's my body, it's me. I don't fuck with you, I don't fuck with me. That's what you learn as kids, do unto others you want
Hmm.
done unto yourself. And I feel like
Exactly.
that's such a very simple concept, but people don't see that. They see, oh, it's okay for this group of people to rob you because they have a uniform on, right? It's okay for the
Hmm.
government can write down a piece of paper that says, hey, you can go over to Sally's house because she doesn't have the right her grass isn't cut correctly or her house is painted wrong. We can come and find her for it. Or you have
Hmm.
too many chickens, or you have a rooster in your property, so therefore we can fine you for it and take your chickens and charge you for it. That
Hmm.
so that people. And here's another thing: the rooster is a good example. It's so funny the people in the cities, right? They hate the sound of the roosters, but I thought they were environmentalists, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
But you hate the sound of nature,
Yep.
but yet you. And then here's another thing with the rooster. It's really important. What is the purpose of the rooster? You reproduce so you can make your own baby chicks. So you don't have to go to the
Hmm.
hatchery or the feed stores and keep buying their baby chicks. You can reproduce your own. Number two,
Hmm.
it protects your hens. Most of these people who have backyard hens, they're getting attacked all the time. I'm seeing the pictures online all the time. I'm like, oh, my
Hmm.
chickens were eaten by a raccoon, but they had not much of a line of defense. They just had the girls there themselves. And the other cool
Hmm.
thing about the rooster is they help them find food. So, thing with the
Hmm.
rooster, the government hates the roosters. States hate the roosters, right? But the
Hmm.
roosters are amazing. It's kind of like man hating. If you think about it. oh my gosh, I have a rooster in my whole thing. People will either give it away for free, eat it, maybe. Most of them they won't eat it, kill it, or whatever. They don't see the value in the rooster when they should see the
Hmm.
value in the rooster. Because why would they be here on this planet with just a hen? You can't keep making more chickens without roosters.
How very patriarchal. So,
Well, chickens
I
are
mean,
like that, actually, though.
th-
Chickens are like that, though.
I mean, it depends on the neighborhood too. But I mean, I know my aunt lives in the middle of the city in Cincinnati, and one of her neighbors around the corner has some chickens. So, and I think they had a rooster. I don't know if they do now. But I mean, yeah, and then I think somebody has a rooster. I think somebody else has some chickens. So it's cool that like in certain parts of like certain cities they do allow for it, but I don't think there should be an ordinance in general. So, but yeah,
Correct.
mm, but yeah, I mean, I think they had, speaking of predators and all that and needing protection, I mean, they had some coyotes out there, so that were coming down from Mount Airy Forest and roaming the neighborhoods. So they really had to be that neighbor
Hmm.
really had to be vigilant with their chickens. So,
It's really nerve-wracking with the predators. They talk about humans being cruel, but nature is
hmm.
cruel than a motherfucker. Okay, you
Oh
seen a
yeah.
raccoon will stick its hand into the fence and grab the chicken's head and bite it off.
Hmm.
That's crazy to me. So like right now, like, my chickens are outside, right? But luckily I have Jeff, right? Who can be look on the lookout. For me, like it's nerve-wracking because everything loves chicken, not just us. Everything loves chicken. Everything wants to eat
Hmm.
chickens. They want to eat their baby chicks. They want to eat their eggs. And it's like nerve-wracking to try to protect them. So it's interesting. And I think honestly, I'm gonna tell y'all this. I haven't told anyone else publicly this. I actually think chickens may unite the city folks and the country folk if we do it right. Because there's a lot of things the
Yep.
country folks can teach the city folks about raising chickens that the city folks don't know.
Hmm.
So I got some plans. I'll tell you about it in private later, but I got some plans to try to work that out. But I think honestly, watch chickens bring the city folks and country folks together.
Everybody likes chickens, so everybody likes a good old egg too. So who doesn't like some scrambled eggs and some bacon and some
Oh,
uh
vegans.
well, vegans. We need to do something about the vegans. So that's where
as
I think
as
that's where
as
you're
long as they're not trying to force their beliefs on me, they're
uh,
cool. If they're advocating against me eating meat, if they're advocating at the White House or the Congress or your state capitol or anywhere, then they're enemies. But if they're minding
hmm.
their business, eating what they want to, you're cool. But if you're trying to force on
Hmm.
me, you got a problem.
Well, we
Hmm.
live in a democracy.
Fuck your democracy.
Well, we live in a constitutional republic, but I mean it's more socialist than anything if you think about it. We don't really got
Yeah.
that going on. We got some socialism
Mm-hmm.
going on. Did y'all see where JD Vance was
Pardon me.
talking
Bless you.
about that people with kids should pay less in taxes? Like we should pay for other people's kids?
Uh yeah, I read something
Yeah, we
on
got
that.
red socialism and blue socialism.
Mm.
Tax credits for one side and tax credits for the other. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In another group that I was in, somebody was talking about uh something around the lines of that. I think they posted a meme, that meme with like the traditionalist type deal, like getting married, having kids and all that. And they're like, what is the point of this? I mean, if you want them to force it, like the government has, like with marriage, the government is the one that deals with states licensing. You have to get licensed by the state in order to be recognized through marriage, right? So like, what's the point? You're just it's kind of like one culture fighting, like when it comes to Republicans or that conservative value type thing, conservative. Um, they're kind of using their culture to kind of weed out the other culture, the left, and then what do you get in return? You're just going to get socialism, like you said. Like they're just going to activate their own brand of authoritarianism after they've gotten rid of the other side. So you have this culture war between one culture and the other, just trying to eradicate each other.
Yeah, and people really should watch out for that kind of thing. I think most people may be under some kind of spell. Does it make sense?
Hmm.
I think most people genuinely just want to mind their own business and not force to police other people. But then you get on
Hmm.
Twitter and you have people getting rewarded on X for pushing that kind of ideology. You have the pundits
Hmm.
will retweet you if you say ridiculous things that they agree with, or in their comment section, they may follow you. People care way
Hmm.
too much about what other people think about them, um, that they think are of some kind of class or status. But if you think about it, if Elon Musk wanted to take away any of those pundits' reach, then who are they anymore, right?
Hmm.
Um, as we've seen, a couple of them had lost some reach for a little bit there, and then they were bitching and complaining about it and moaning about it. I don't have that much of a reach, but
Hmm.
my whole thing is that I'm not on Twitter trying to be famous or popular. I'm just trying to put the information out there and then start showing what I do behind the scenes, like what my activism is. When I first
Hmm.
got on Twitter, I was supporting Trump like a fool.
Hmm.
And I've woken up from that. But the thing is, it's like if he was talking about taking guns away or anything, I'm not gonna sit there and just kiss his ass and be like, yeah, that's
Hmm.
okay because it's Trump. No, fuck no. It's not okay for anybody to do that. If I would have saw
Hmm.
those tweets, because I didn't join until 2019. If I would have saw his gun tweets back before that, I would have been like, I wouldn't have even supported him in 2020 because I didn't know. I wasn't on
Hmm.
Twitter. I didn't see that stuff.
Hmm.
And so with the media, all they did was point out things that were untrue. So people were, focusing on the defending the things that weren't untrue instead of going after for him for things that were wrong. But a lot of the things he likes left actually likes. They didn't really go after him for the gun thing, right? They didn't really go after
Hmm.
him for shutting down the country because that's what they wanted. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of things wrong, and I'm really disappointed in our selection this year when it comes to the authoritarians. There's not much to. I didn't have much hopes for it, but like it's crazy that the defend the democracy side of the aisle is okay with them installing Kamala Harris. Like,
Hmm.
um, wow, where's the democracy there? We were just automatically saying it's going to be Kamala Harris, and the
Hmm.
delegates decided this. But what about the people? Would the people go and tell
Hmm.
the delegates they wanted this? So it's like where's that democracy at that they claim they want to save?
Yeah. I think there's going to be it's going to be interesting. I might actually have to watch the DNC this year for the first time ever because I think there might be something go down. I don't think the delegate I just don't see her as popular with the delegates, let alone the people. So we'll see if there's another
We'll
coup.
see.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah.
they're already trying to hint that there may not be an election too. On top of that, so we'll
Hmm.
see.
I think that might be, I mean, not to go conspiracy hour on this, but they do want to implement some chaos. The powers that be like chaos because they really want to call martial law.
They need it.
Hmm. At this rate, they do. So, and I think that's kind of what they like with the George Floyd situation in 2020, and then the so-called Summer of Love that they call like all that chaos, and then of course January 6th and that stupidity. I mean, chaos usually invites powerful people to gain more power. So
It makes us more
we'll see.
Oh,
homeless.
by the way,
Hmm.
have you guys listened to the Alphabet Boys podcast pertaining to the rights and stuff with the BLM movement?
I have not.
Me
Andrew?
neither.
Y'all
No, I
gotta
not either.
check out the Alphabet Boys because they're showing how they were infiltrated by the government too.
Oh, of
Most
course.
of these movements can start off genuine and they're
Hmm.
infiltrated. You know, it's look at
Well,
the liberty movement, look at the conservative movement, look at the MAGA
Hmm.
movement, look at this. Everything's infiltrated. It's always these bad
Hmm.
actors who get in there, who get the microphone and ruin it for the whole movement.
Hmm. As for the Libertarian Party, it was the Koch brothers.
right.
So,
I'm newer, so I don't know anything about that yet. So I'm
oh,
just
they
going
they
off what I'm looking at now.
Oh yeah.
And what I'm seeing now with people supporting people who are not libertarians, and so it's been interesting.
I forget what industry that they were in, but the Koch brothers, like back in like the 80s, they started flooding. They just started funding the Libertarian Party for like certain like movements and ideas that they liked for like deregulation, mostly for deregulation. So, I mean, that's why they were supporters, I guess. So I think they've done like other like conservative type deal too. I think they were a big, prevalent funder of the Tea Party movement back in 2010. I know that's,
Shoot.
yeah,
You know, when we
but
start a new party called None of the Above Party, we won't take no money from those kind of people. Okay.
if you haven't seen that tweet, everybody, go retweet that and let's start this new party.
Right.
None of the above. So,
Yes,
so retweet, repost, whatever you want to call it, retweet. I still call it retweet.
me too. And I still say
Mm.
Twitter. I try to say X, but I say Twitter.
I don't, and X is what X just seems like a porn site name, and with the influx since Elon's gotten on board, the influx of all these porn bots kind of makes it genuinely true.
Yeah. And then the people will lie to you and say it's a free speech platform. They'll lie to you and tell you that it's
Hmm.
gotten better since Elon took over, and it has honestly I think it's gotten worse, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was honestly, I think it was better under Jack Dorsey. Um, unfortunately, but like this whole
Hmm.
its algorithm is like matching like what Facebook does, and it's your own followers don't see your account. They're like, oh, we said freedom of speech, not reach. Well, I should be able to reach the people who
Hmm.
decided to follow me. You know, I'm quite
Exactly.
sure a whole lot of them would disagree with a lot of things I say because a lot of them have MAGA in their profile. By the way, I'm not for sure why Trump people could follow me all the time. I'm not hating. I'm going to come over and learn or something, but it's been a lot of them following me lately, and I don't know why. I don't praise Trump or anything. And I actually
Uh,
attack Republicans more than I do Democrats now because I feel like they betrayed me, right?
hmm.
Traitors. They lied to
Hmm.
Yeah.
me, and
Hmm.
they sold me a dream, and it was like it was a nightmare.
Yeah. I don't know why that is, because I've noticed the influx of MAGA. I honestly I think it might just be like bots. Either that or troll accounts, or I don't, who knows. Or maybe they're just genuinely trying to change their tune. So
I don't know. I would start with changing my profile picture from his ear getting shot off, and
mm,
I would start by taking having my own identity on Twitter without being all about Trump or all
mm-hmm,
about Kamala. I don't have an influx of Democrats like that. There are Kamala Harris followers that follow me. Some
mm-hmm.
do, but I don't have a huge influx of them though.
Well, I honestly, when it comes to the difference between like the Democrats and the Republicans, from my perspective, is like not the Democrats know who they like, in my opinion, or who they're going to like. I mean, I think the whole thing of them trying to throw Kamala Harris down everybody's throats in the media, that's gonna bite them bite them really and like in the ass at the end, because you're gonna see RFK is gonna gonna grab a piece of the Democrats. Even Chase Oliver is going to grab a piece of the Democrats, and then you're going to see Trump basically just run with it, and by a landslide because of it. And then MAGA is just they like who they like. That their dear leader is Donald Trump, and then the Republicans are just going to vote their party line just because Trump's the Republican. So,
Well, I want to push back a little bit on RFK for real quick. I feel like he's been going down more because people have been looking into him more.
hmm,
He because one minute they're watching a video of his, he's saying one thing, and the next minute he's saying something different. And
yeah,
honestly, like I don't think he's gonna be doing too hot with Kamala. Maybe he would have done better with Biden on there, but
mm,
he can barely talk himself. I know people don't bring that up. You can talk about how Biden talks, but you can't talk about how RFK talks. I could understand Joe Biden better than I can understand RFK when he's speaking. I had to like pay really close attention to what he's saying because I
mm,
can't understand necessarily how he's announcing his words. But in RFK, his people online are liars too. They go around harassing other people and
Yeah.
having to put RFK under every single thing. RFK is actively working to divide the Libertarian Party and trying to take ballot access from our candidate and give it to himself. I think people are really looking at him a little different now, based off what I've been seeing. And I saw a couple of states where Chase was beating him.
Hopefully. I mean, it does. That's the thing with RFK.
I hope so
mean,
too.
when you, oh, go ahead.
It'd be really badass though if Chase ended up beating RFK. If he don't win the election, right? He at least beats RFK. That would be that is a big fu to everyone who turned their back on him during this race. Because regardless if do you like Chase or not, I'm an activist, correct? I've seen him put in the work. I see him fight Cop City. I've seen him help other people in their fights. And whenever libertarians say we want to find people who want to run for office, but then you scare them off by doing things like this. You have an activist who's willing and has actual evidence and shows a resume of helping people where we don't have elected officials for evidence like that. So we have someone with the evidence of helping people and advocating for people. And then those people who are considering being libertarian or running as a libertarian might be like, you know what? If that's how your own party treats you, what's the difference of me doing this with the Democrats or Republicans? You're going to scare off people. So I'm really excited. I really want to see him do really well with the lack of money, the lack of help, and them trying to pull him off state ballots, and I'm rooting for this underdog, okay? And I think we don't win the election, but if it trickles down to the other states and gets other people motivated to start doing that at their state level, county levels, we can make a lot more impact because we don't have our states in order. If we have a Kamala or Trump again, and they're super authoritarianism as we know they're going to be, at least we need to have our states in order to protect us from the federal government. But we don't have that. The federal government and the states are lock and step on their authoritarianism.
And that's where, I mean, you mentioned people forgetting about that Sixth Amendment. Well, that's where we need to start remembering the Ninth and the 10th Amendment, especially the 10th with the states, but the Ninth Amendment that just narrows everything down to, I mean, you have your natural rights that nobody can take away. You have your freedom of speech, you have your freedom of privacy and your papers, yourself, your house. I mean, your freedom of due process if you do get in some trouble, financially, civilly, or criminally. So your right to bear arms.
The Ninth Amendment is a fantastic amendment that no one talks about. The government don't want to talk about that amendment because basically when the Ninth Amendment was added to the Bill of Rights, it basically stripped them of any kind of authority to do anything to us as individuals, period. The Ninth Amendment is also can be coupled with things like the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. Well, you can't have AR-15s or you can't have machine guns. Well, the Ninth Amendment and with the Second Amendment together, yes, I can. Yeah. And so my thing is too, is when people say, well, the Constitution doesn't say you can do that. Well, where does the Constitution give you the authority to say I can't do it? Because you ain't gonna find it nowhere in the Constitution where it gives the government the authority. And when people try to say, well, Article 1, Section 8, if you actually read it, it's basically talking about Congress governing it itself, not us as individuals. So people got to really start digging it and reading it with a purpose. My thing is it hasn't been protecting us, as you can see, ever since the Constitution was created. But that's what we have right now to go off of. Most people don't even know what the Constitution says. So there has to be a starting point for some people. Because we know, honestly, the Constitution is what created this government that we have today. Where it was, honestly, we're better off with the Articles of Confederation. We're better off then when we're loose states on our own. But, we have the Constitution now. And if you say anything against it, then you're a commie, right? So, Lysander Spooner has really good arguments where we didn't sign shit, right? So we didn't consent to this. We didn't consent to be ruled over by Democrats and Republicans. We didn't consent to be robbed. And for a judge can be able to give a sheriff department or cops permission to come into my house and, take my dignity away from me. Okay, if my house is fucking dirty and messy, that's my business, but you're gonna put it all over the fucking news, bitch? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and don't come to my house taking my things and stealing my property from me. Don't and then people are online. If you go on Facebook posts when they see guns have been taken or property's been taken, they're cheering the police officers on. And have y'all seen them
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook? They're not like, hey,
Oh
why
yeah.
do you steal this person's stuff? They go, good job, cops. Keep that off the streets, cops. We have a lot of work to do because Facebook is where you can really see
Yeah.
a lot of local issues and how authoritarian and controlling some of these people are. But I
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like, I want to see people start saying it to my face. They want to be in the comment section on Facebook. They go ahead and say in my face, "You're okay if the cops are robbing me."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it why you celebrate theft. I mean, no different
It's
from
awful.
yeah, no different from if like Timmy from down the street comes over, kicks in your door, and kidnaps your daughter and does some things with her. And I'm trying to keep it PG, guys. And then takes all your wife's jewelry and then walks away and goes pawns it for meth. I mean, that's theft. Well,
Yeah.
it's the same thing when the police show up and take your guns because you have a mental health episode. And I think like a couple states I think have actually have those statutes where I think they can actually
Red
take
flag
guns
laws.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good old Florida, good old free state of Florida, right? They got red
Mm.
flag law.
Oh, wait, it
And
Florida has.
oh yeah, Ron DeSantis, he was supporting them, and so when people were like, "Florida's the most free state ever," it's amazing. I'm like, well, y'all still got red flag laws, and y'all are not pressuring Ron DeSantis to say something about him or get rid of him. So again, we
Mm-hmm.
have people hero worshiping, idol worshiping. By the way, a lot of these people say they're Christians. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
interesting the hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thou shalt not have. What is it? Thou shalt not worship
Have
other gods before
before me.
God. Yeah, before me. Yeah. So. Not only that, but it's mentioned numerous times in the Old Testament. And a lot of these Christians are very adamant to the Old Testament, and here they are worshiping Trump and DeSantis, and it's just this culture war mentality. I honestly, it's just my side's gonna better than your side, and I'm gonna get you good. So, and where's it left us? Where our country's literally falling apart.
We're falling like Rome.
Mm-hmm. Fallen almost.
Overexposed.
Yeah. Almost exactly like Rome. I mean,
Yeah.
what, 1500 years ago, 2000 years ago, almost to the T. Inflation is run rampant. Our money is fake. Our food is fake. I mean, we've let the barbarians in through the walls and have given them jobs as law enforcement in the military. I
Literally.
mean, literally, I mean, just like Rome, it's pretty sad where we're at. We are repeating history, and that comes to my other question: why is it that is there something wrong with us psychologically that we as a collective are not able to understand? History often repeats itself.
You know, it is frustrating when you think about it. Why are we repeating history? Even recent history that we've seen with our own eyeballs, and you're watching it happening over here in this country. And
Hmm.
I honestly believe that people don't want to use their brain and think of solutions or ideas themselves. They need someone to tell them what to do. They need someone to
Hmm.
tell them what the solution is. And it doesn't matter when you go vote, right? And you have a political party, in a sense, you are voting for a party, you're outsourcing your rights to someone else.
Hmm.
You're outsourcing your rights to a party. You're outsourcing rights to politicians. People don't want to be responsible for their own decisions. So when the country is falling in the crap, you're gonna say, "Oh, it's a Democrat's fault. Oh, it's a Republican's
Hmm.
fault, or it's Trump's fault, or it's Kamala's fault." And instead of saying it's our fault, remember in the Declaration of Independence he said it's our rights, it is our duty to throw
Hmm.
overthrow the government when it does this stuff. Nobody wants to take that duty out there because people don't think we can win. If you don't win, you're a criminal. You're a terrorist, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fear. We don't have a lot of courage and faith in this country. And how are we going to do that? Honestly, I can't tell you for the country, but in your local communities, your counties, your towns, start there. You may live in a big city. Get your block, get your people ready. Because a lot of times, I've talked to people, you in a sense are a position of authority because most people don't know these things and they would like to learn them from you. And they see you as a person of authority. Like I have people who call me all the time asking me, like, hey, should the government be able to do this to me? Or is this right? Or, because they see me as someone of an authority in
Mm-hmm.
that sense. I hate using the word authority, but like that's how people look at you when you actually know things and they
Yeah.
don't know yet. And that's another thing is why it's so important too is your jury. Okay? Your jury. If you're educating your community and they know the government they have a right to nullify the bullshit and they don't have to enforce the laws, the judge, the district attorney, prosecuting attorney, your state legislator, the sheriff are trying to use against you, they can say no. So if we start educating those people in our community, we can do that. But it just makes it really hard when you have a really big pool. So you gotta be really involved too. If something happens to you, you expect to outsource your rights to fighting your rights to an attorney, and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything. They're gonna fuck you over, and they're gonna get you to take a plea deal. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to start with yourself. Build your faith. Build your courage. Do your own research. If you need direction and help, hit me up. Hit a Doni. Hey Doni, I want to start, learning my rights. I've already volunteered to do tutoring sessions with the Game File community on Sundays. So at 3 o'clock. So if people want to start learning, you start arming yourself with knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
courage, and your faith. And more of us like that, we can start winning, even if it's in a small area. Maybe we start coming to not necessarily New Hampshire's doing, but like we all come to one spot. Like there's 20 or 30 of us, and there's not that many people in the city. You have a lot of you guys more political power in a sense, right? Because there's more of
Mm-hmm.
us than there is of statists there. So really start working your best at your local level. Also lead by example. Start, feeding the homeless. If you like me, I got fresh eggs. I'm gonna start when they start producing eggs. I'm gonna start giving eggs away. Start giving things. Show how
Mm-hmm.
voluntarism actually works, and you don't need to steal from other people. And you can actually do this without stealing from other people.
Mm-hmm. A true agorist lifestyle for real. So yeah, I mean that's how you do it. I mean, love, peace, and harmony, and just relationship. That's the only way that we can kind of beat out all this negativity that has dreaded us for decades. So, but
Yeah, and,
Andrew,
and if someone rejects your ideas and someone rejects you, don't take it to heart. Next,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just
Oh
next.
yeah,
Don't stress
yeah,
about it. Don't think yourself as a failure. That one person is just one person. You're going to get 3 or 4, 5 next people who's going to be on board with you. So don't let someone
mm-hmm.
saying no or not caring about what you're trying to say tear you down because there's always going to be someone that says no. Just don't care about
Mm-hmm.
it. Just move on to the next person. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you, Andrew. You need to start doing that more.
Right.
Yeah, look at me and say next. Go away.
Time to go home, brother.
Uh, you know what? Let's throw that in there. I know you want to ask that about Hulk Hogan.
Oh, when he shot my hero. I'm just kidding.
Thoughts on why these professional wrestlers like becoming Republicans, I guess.
It's
So Hulk
marketing.
Hogan, yeah, it
There's
is.
a they're putting their own twist on things to put some skin in the game, just in case they ever want to explore and maybe appeal to more violence for their own personal use.
Well, I mean, I think
Well,
Hulk
I
Hogan.
think that they're trying to look like they have celebrities like Democrats do. And they think that people, they bank on people idol worshiping, honestly. They bank on
Mm-hmm.
people thinking, oh, look, celebrities are doing this. Just in 2020, I thought they didn't care what celebrities thought, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it's, oh, the celebrities are here. And I think Hulk Hogan was a very terrible example of using someone because he has a history with his daughter dating a black guy. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's really helping the MAGA's case on being accused of being, you know, racist. And
Yeah.
I don't think MAGA as a whole is racist, but it doesn't make you look good when you have someone like Hulk Hogan who has a past, on your
Mm-hmm.
stage supporting Trump.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, his issue with his daughter's boyfriend on race, his issue, I think the part of the reason why his wife pretty much, I think, cheated on him because he was cheating on her. It was a tit for tat, and he
Mm.
was, yeah. I mean,
He's a
not the
mess.
best, yeah, not the best person to probably put on, especially if you're trying, as Republicans, trying to promote these conservative values and yeah, and then all of a sudden, well, no, you're womanizers, you're racist, you're this, you're that. You know, what I mean, okay. So, but the Democrats were the party of the KKK.
It's so funny they say that, right? They always say that. That was okay. That was like during the Reconstruction era, right? Then you have
Yeah.
there was like three waves of KKK. Then you have
Mm-hmm.
1930s and the 1960s. Republicans were KKK members too. Hello,
Exactly.
Indiana. Look into them and their
Yep.
headquarters. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, come on, they're. But they
In
like to
fact,
rewrite
I think
history. So
yeah, and I think when my parents bought their first house in Aurora, Indiana, this was like 84, 85. The courthouse here in Dearborn County in Lawrenceburg was actually they actually were hosting a Klan rally. The Klan was actually having a little a rally, I guess. It's like there you go, Indiana.
yeah.
It's our hometown for the
Mm-hmm.
boys in white. So funny, yeah,
Oh, and another thing
funny.
is in movies they like to pretend like the KKK were like the poor redneck
Yeah.
guys, but it was
Hmm.
expensive. Like you had to be a particular class, you had to have a particular kind of job, and have amount of
Oh
money
yeah.
to be a part of the KKK. Like that was an uppity society. That wasn't the poor
Hmm.
rednecks, in the backwoods. Those are rich people. Those are probably your cops, your politicians wearing
Hmm.
sheets.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not
Literal
saying probably.
sheets.
I'm just saying probably for the audience, so they can go and fact check for themselves.
Or you can just go play Red Dead Redemption 2 and then you can come across a bunch of KKK members and then watch burning cross fall over and catch a bunch of them on fire.
Jeff
Hilarious.
plays that game. I love that game. Jeff plays it. I like watching it.
Oh, it's a great game. Great story. And little funny
Hmm.
little snippets. Too bad the KKK didn't exist in 1899, but clever. Very clever. So, um, Andrew, you have anything to add?
Well, I'm
Quiet man.
just think we've been talking, and I think about the quote by, sorry, excuse me, brain fog's acting up. Uh, I hate it when what happens, but it's keep striking the root. Is it stop? Power likes to prune society like a tree, right? When if you want to fix the problem, you gotta remove the tree from the roots from the ground from the tree. Sorry, I'm trying to. I'm this brain fog kills me sometimes.
Basically, what you're saying
Yeah.
is like if there's a problem, you need to get down to the root of that problem. Like if
Yeah,
someone has
it,
cancer, right?
stuff.
You don't just cut out part of the cancer and leave it there and ignore the rest of it. You got to get
Hmm.
it down to the nitty gritty, or you're not going to solve the problem, and it's going to come back.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Sorry.
I feel you. I love it.
Hmm.
You're absolutely right.
So instead of voting our little hearts out, this might get the feds in my house when I say this joke. Uh, we go straight to the source in Washington and we utilize what the anarchist cookbook's all about. We make
Bless your little
bombs.
heart.
No, honestly, they think the biggest root of the problem is the Federal Reserve. They wanted it for so long,
Hmm.
right? That's when they really, really started being
Hmm.
very authoritarian. FDR stole people's gold and told them that it was illegal for them to have it. And people try to say, "Oh, it was voluntary." Like, no, there was fines and you could be imprisoned if you had
Hmm.
gold. Then you have Nixon taking away the gold standard. So
Hmm.
honestly, the Federal Reserve, that's how they're paying for their weapons, right? That's how they're
Hmm.
sending money to people overseas, is printing, printing, printing. Honestly, that needs to be gutted. And that's why they can't have a libertarian in office. That's why they would infiltrate the party, because we want to end the Federal Reserve. We want to do
Hmm.
that, but they need to have that there in order to maintain its power.
Henry David Thoreau. That's who I was talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, and speaking of the money source, in Argentina, because I know Malay is, at least I don't know if he's implemented it or he's attempting uh, to bring the dollar, the American dollar, as the reserve currency in Argentina. Yeah, it seems to me like that could be a WEF ploy, I guess, for all the conspiracy theories. Bring everything into chaos, yeah. Or it could either help the dollar prop it up, or it could be another scenario where you're just streamlining the inevitable collapse that fiat, especially with the dollar and its world reserve currency status, will supplant itself. Because now here you have, once again, another Latin American country utilizing the dollar because their currency isn't shit.
Yeah, I don't really for sure what his role is in all of this, but I will say I did support him when he was running, and I was all excited about it because it was
Hmm.
libertarianism and our values being presented across the globe,
Hmm.
and then as of now that it appears to be successful. But whenever I see something that doesn't make sense to me, I don't like it, you got to call it out, because then
Hmm.
they'll just say, "Oh, libertarianism failed. Look, we did a test in Argentina and it didn't work." So that's my big thing too, is like not want to put my eggs in one basket with
Hmm.
him. I don't know what the play is with him. I'm not gonna lie. I am skeptical. You always have to be skeptical, right? Ask
Hmm.
questions. You can't
Yeah.
just think that someone is actually there for the good. It's really hard to get a whole country to back you, or half a country to
Hmm.
back you. A lot of times when you do good things for people and you run for office, people will find anything they can possibly to tear your character down, to make you look a terrible person. And meanwhile, you're probably fucking on kids with Epstein and shit and islands. So
That was a call out to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, both of you.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, definitely. Yeah. And
a lot
Hillary
of people.
for, yeah, way too many people involved in that. And that's sick. I mean, we really are forced to pay taxes to a bunch of pedophiles living on a small planet. The meme is real. I mean, it's sad, but whenever memes tell the truth, it kind of hits you like, yeah, I'm pretty small. Uh, I think everybody needs to understand your small potatoes. Maybe if we can gain that access and teach people to know that we're much smaller than what is personified, we can kind of get this consumerist drive out of everybody's mind, and thus we can get back to the basics of more voluntary lifestyle, more relationships. Like, people don't even make friends anymore like they used to. Neighbors aren't neighborly. I mean, families don't even really, the families hardly get together anymore in a lot of places. Not some some cultures are a little different. It is a shame of where we've got muttering my words, but it is a shame of where we've gotten to.
Yep. Mhm.
Mm. So, anything else, Andrew, that we can go on? We could probably go on for days.
No,
What
I'm good
what's
for
Good.
it?
right now.
Have to take care of the chickens.
Exactly. As much as we could, I think we've gone well over our hour mark, haven't we, Andrew?
About an hour and 15 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, so well, I think that's a good place to kind of end for the day, and you got to get to your chickens. So, anything else to add for any concluding thoughts or plugs that you want to haul out there, Donnie?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me come and speak to you guys and speak with your audience. You guys, that means the world to me. It's to be able to express these things and these ideas with
Hmm.
people, who are critical thinkers as well, right? Um, Only thing I would plug is, my platforms are Doni the Misfit, pretty much every
Hmm.
platform besides Facebook, and www.libertyurls.com. You can become a member for free, subscribe, whatever you want to do. But whatever you guys want to do to help, you can. And if you want to start working in your local communities, in your counties, in your cities, and wanting to make real change, besides just looking at the federal government every 4 years, holla at me.
Hmm. Beautiful. Andrew, stop looking at the government every 4 years.
Okay, I'll do it every 8.
Every there you go. So perfect, and we'll have that down in the description as well. So on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms that you listen to, go down to our description and check those out. So and become a member, and liberty or else. So because that's all we have on this life. You only live once. Hopefully
Yep.
there's more than that, but you only live once on this earth, so why not be free? Why not help each other achieve that? So thank you again, Donnie, for coming on uh real quick and giving your take, your opinion, your perspectives on everything. So it's been a great chat. So thank you again.
Well, thank you guys. You have a good one.
All
See
right.
ya.
So and this is the legacy, right? Lysander Spooner to the back. I am the legacy, right? I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. This is the
Right.
legacy, right? That's Andrew Joseph. Thank you again, Donnie. And let's roll on out of here. Peace.
Thanks for watching. Have a good one.